we did the BT and Sal live show last night. I mean, I'm assuming most of you know that I used to do the show with Brandon Tierney on the fan on the middays. And, since I decided to make my last show December 12th, BT stayed on a little bit after that. Fan made the decision, bring back Craig Carton and no longer have BT and Sal. We have not done a show together. We've only seen each other at A-Rod's Christmas party since December 12th. And then, BT set this plan in motion to do a live show. And that happened last night in Jersey in Red Bank. And I got to tell you, it was incredible. I don't know what I was expecting. I was more anxious, nervous, also very excited to do a show in front of a live crowd, but I've never done one on my own like that. I've been a part of the Boomer and Geo Lives. I've done some stuff up on a stage, for SNY, doing panels at Fanatics Fest or the QBC, Queens Baseball Convention, but this was different because this was a show that no longer exists. And, so to many extents, the show failed. And at least in the people who put the show together, and in their minds, it wasn't good enough to decide keeping it on the fan. And, hadn't done, like I said, the show with BT in over a month after doing shows together for 2.5 years. And, it's in Jersey, you're selling tickets for it, and who knows about the prices. And, we really do appreciate everybody who drove down there, whether you're from there, whether you're from wherever, to go down there. People were saying they flew from Florida, it drove from Connecticut, drove from Syracuse. It was wild to talk to a bunch of people who were there. And we appreciate greatly, people willing to spend money, whatever it was, to go watch a show that they used to get for free 5 days a week, 4 hours a day. So that was not lost on us. And I was just like, oh, are people going to be interested? Are they going to want to do this? And, you get there and the setup is incredible. There's like a legit backstage. You go over rehearsal and I'm like, wow, this is just weird. It's not, you don't just walk into a studio and turn on the mics and go talk about it. So there was a lot of pressure to perform and make sure you deliver for people who paid for that ticket and wanted to make sure that they got, a good show. You can't just go on there, to me, and just talk sports. So there was a little more planning that goes into it, whatever. But the beginning, and Mike Martucci set the whole thing up, and we should credit him here too. So BT knows him from doing the travel that he's done with the Jets getaway. And I've known actually Martucci before he really knew who I was, back when he was doing stuff with Francesa many years ago. Traveling, I remember traveling a couple of Super Bowls with Mike and Martucci with Big Blue Travel. Anyway, point is, he was giving some advice on where we should leave from and where we should enter from. And right out of the gate, you're nervous and you're getting set and you're seeing the people walk in and the stage, the seats filling up. And they decided to have us come in the back entrance through the crowd. And man, when I tell you, when the song hit, that we did the BT and Sal Open, and Martucci introduced us. And I'm not saying it was a ton of people. It was whatever, 400 people. I'm not even sure how many people there, but the place went nuts. And it was a weird feeling. Usually we're just looking across the side of the glass. You can get Dove and Hop and don't give a shit about what we're doing. You got to wake them up. It's just like the mundane, okay, what are we talking about today? Okay, here we go. The energy that we both felt with the intro and the crowd and walking through the crowd and high-fiving everybody and thanking them for coming and then getting up on stage and doing our thing. I'll tell you, man, that was still kind of on a high from it. It just happened, a few hours ago. I didn't get home till like 12 or 1, whatever it was. What a freaking experience. So I can't be more thankful to really anybody. I understand a lot of people couldn't make it, whether it's location, whether it's not wanting to pay the money for the tickets, whatever. We understand that. Everybody who made it, we appreciate, and everybody who's ever listened to or supported the BT and Sal show, we appreciate it very much. Who knows if we could do more of those. But so now some notes from the actual show, mainly with Aaron Boone, who I got to tell you, I never want to become friendly with players or managers and all that stuff because it does impact the way that you could potentially deliver opinion on them. And that's my job, is to deliver the opinion. So pick a player. It could be anybody. Timo Perez. I don't know why he popped into my head, but he did. If I met Timo Perez and became boys with him, would I be as critical? Be like, dude, come on, you got to score on that. What are you doing? You got to be paying attention. You get thrown at home in game 1 of the 2000 World Series, something I still talk to Todd Zeal about to this day. But anyway, if you were to become legit friends with some of these people, it might impact the way that you do your job, and we can't have that happening. But Aaron Boone, just by circumstance, I mean, the way that we developed a relationship with him was that I don't know if it was something I said on SNY or on the fan. Could have been both. I was calling Boone a data applicator, saying that he, just applies the data. One night, a caller on the overnight called and mentioned something about, applying analytics, whatever. I was like, yeah, you're right. They're not managers. They're data applicators. And then I started calling Boone that, and I think he saw it on SNY, I'm pretty sure. And it bothered him. And he reached out to Andy Martino, who he knew from covering the team, and told him, hey, tell that guy Licata, blah, 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 whatever. And then that kind of started, that was the first mention. I was like, oh, wow, Boone knows who I am. He watches or he listens to me on the fan, whatever. And then there was another incident, nothing bad, but just like one time, hey, tell him this or whatever. And I was like, why don't you just tell Boone to call me? Put him in touch with me, and we'll just do this directly instead of Andy being the middleman. And he did. And Boone, I know what it was. It was that he was listening to the card game that BT and I did. That was the second thing. He got note to somebody. I don't know if it was Evan and Tiki or Marash, or it was both, and Martino. All of those guys, he was saying, he told multiple people, hey, tell those guys I want to come do that card game with them, the pull your card with BT and Sal. And then Martino put me in touch with him, and we had a good conversation. He decided to come in studio. And now the rest is great history for us. He became friendly with both BT and me, and we've had conversations with him. And then BT reached out to Boone asking him to do this live show. I was like, yeah, I'll do the live show if you want. Like, whatever, dude. Show's getting canceled, but you want to do a live show? I'm fine. If you set it up and you think people will come, I'm fine with it. Then he reached out to Boone and got Boone to commit to it. And now I was like, oh, shit, this is real. It's going to happen. So, okay, I got to start getting my mind right for what we're going to do and all that stuff. So BT should get credit for facilitating that whole thing. But Boone, think about this. To take time out of his busy schedule and come down to Red Bank, New Jersey from Connecticut, I mean, that's something that we can never thank him enough for. And he did it at a time where he knew we needed it. Like, you really find out who your real friends are when, shit hits the fan and you need to. Bada booms, you like that one. When shit hits the fan and you need, some people like you just because the power of the microphone and, you're on the fan and you can help me. So let me pretend that we're friends. And that is a real thing. So you really find out when you no longer have that power of the WFAN microphone, who's your true friends. And Aaron Boone is certainly one of them. And the fact that he would commit to come down there and hang out with us and had no time limits. He was there early, watching us do the first part of the show. He hung out on stage, came on and said, I'm here as long as you guys need me. Hung out for a meet and greet, signed some autographs for people who asked. That was not supposed to be in the plan. All of the above. So my point is, it's going to be, I may have to retire the data applicator thing at the very least, or the Yankee Department of Nerds, because I knew he was a little sensitive to that. We busted his chops about that. Even brought that up on the stage last night. I told him, tell me why I'm wrong in the analytics. And he explained all that stuff. And, saying he's less analytical with his decisions than a lot of others. But if you don't apply analytics, you're just not paying attention, which I agree with. But because he was so kind, and we're now, we've become legitimate friends, I might have to lay off on the data applicator stuff. And more importantly, because I'll be fair, I'll criticize him if he has a bad move. And Boone would criticize himself. He knows that. See, that's part of the game. We've been friends for a while, and we still criticize him. So I just say that it's harder for me. I grew up hating the Yankees. And now I love the manager of the Yankees. So there's no way I'm rooting against them. Not saying I got to necessarily root for them, especially against the Mets. I think he understands that. But I would love to see a guy who's done a lot for me personally. I'd like to see him have the ultimate success. So what just a wild bada booms. Before I get into some of the things that Boone said as it pertains to the Yankees, as a huge mark for the BT and Sal show yourself, do you have it? You couldn't make it down there. I know we were trying to get you there last minute. You had other stuff going on, but you have any questions about anything from the live show? Maybe something that I'm not thinking about that can enhance this podcast here? Anything you want to add?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the first thing I want to say is, don't worry. I have learned from my mistakes. I have come back a better man today. I'm asking questions based on your question to me. I want to get that out of the way. By the way, what a lovely morning, Sal Licata. It's great to have you here.
Stop fucking filling. You didn't learn.
No, I did. I did.
You're
I
like
did.
Joe Pesci in My Cousin Vinny, where he's like, I think I get the point. I don't think you do. I ask you a question and you still start with the filler. Oh, by the way, good morning, Sal. I think I understand what you're saying. No. I asked you a question. Just answer it.
By the way,
Cut out all the fat. Just get to it.
My Cousin Vinny, Marissa Tomei.
Tremendous. I'm a huge fan.
Everybody's first love.
I have a note, Bada Booms. We're not going to do this today, but at some point
Mm-hmm.
down the road, maybe episode 12 or 13, women that you'd risk it all for. She might be on top of my list, but Jessica Alba, because I can't.
Marissa Tomei, 100%.
Yeah, she's up there for sure. Jessica Alba as well. Anyway, let's move on because I'm going to get distracted with that. Now, answer the question. Do you have any questions about BT and Sal Live?
2 questions, actually, to make it distinct. First one is, did you tell Boone what I said? Did you tell him anything I said to, send it along?
I did not, but you have to understand. First of all, I don't even remember what you said. But you have to understand it was very busy and chaotic there, even backstage before when we saw him, and then we saw him during, and then after, and the meet and greet. But I promise you, I will get you to talk to Boone, whether it's through me, some questions that you have, or I'll put you in contact with. Just ease in here. Ease in. But yes, what was the question you wanted me to ask him?
Well, I just wanted you to relay to him that you're an idiot. Remember that?
Okay, for what?
Well, he's one of the great culture guys in the history of New York sports. But I do have a serious question.
Yeah.
Were there any good meet and greet stories that you had from fans, whether it be positive or funny or negative?
Yeah, there are a couple. First of all, there were people heckling on. I don't know about BT and I. In the beginning, maybe some people were yelling a little bit, but I don't know. You could barely hear because it's so. The lights are really in your face on stage. You could barely hear. You can't see where it's coming from. But Boone, some people are like, get a leadoff hitter, or and that was just me yelling at him. By the way, remind me to tell you this story. I'm going to answer your question, and then remind me to tell you this story.
Yeah, look who's doing the thing now. How the turns.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
No, I'm doing exactly what I told you not to. There was one guy who was on stage for the meet and greet afterward because there was a line. You had to wait in the line, and then you go up, take your picture, say hello, whatever. And he was wearing a Los Angeles Dodgers 2024 World Series T-shirt. And even some of the crew was like, come on, get the hell out of here with that stuff. But Boone was like, no, bring him on. And then we took the picture with him because Boone had his head down and was not smiling for the camera, not looking at it. That was one that was a good sport. Some people telling touching stories about how, oh, Aaron, we met you and you helped out with my son or this or that. Or people telling BT and I they flew up from Florida. But that was probably the best one, I think, that was controversial, was the guy who was wearing a 2024 Dodgers World Series thing. By the way, Boone beat me in the pull your card. He finally got a win on the board. He actually crushed me in it. And I was like, oh, that's all right. You just got on a heater like the Blue Jays did, against you in the postseason. And he's because he's been saying, well, we think we're good. We think we're as good as anybody else. They just got on a heater. So when he was beating me in the card game, I was like, it's all right. You're just on a heater. Anything else, Bada Booms, before I get to that story that I want to tell about Booney?
The problem is they're never good enough. So, no, I feel like the audience would like to know, other than that, what did it sound like? Because you mentioned it a little bit. You compared it to something specific that I want you to say on air. You said you got a something level quality pop. I want you to say that again.
Yeah, dude. It sounds ridiculous to say. I was talking about it, Booms, after the show. I'm like, dude, it felt like Cena entering at WrestleMania. But the pop, you just wanted me to. Do not cut that up because that sounds ridiculous. But I'm telling you.
I know. I'm going to use it for content. That's why I wanted you to say it.
In perspective, with the few hundred people there in the crowd, when they introed us, you could feel the energy of it. I'm telling you, dude, it was real, which is something I've never experienced before. And I've been introduced to live crowds. It never felt like that. And then the biggest pop, and we have video of this somewhere. We got to cut it out. Ryan Chichester came out and helped us out and took a lot of video. Not that he videoed the whole show, but he was definitely recording some things. When I did the King Cohen bit, we wanted to get all our moves in. We wanted to get all our bits in and structured
get your
stuff.
stuff in, if you will.
So we started the show with just talking about where we've been at and what happened at the Fan, and we were finally getting in a groove and whatever happened. And then I was like, all right, before we get into the sports, I feel like something's missing. And he's like, BT's, what? What's missing? And I got up and went backstage, and then BT was playing with the crowd a little bit, throwing some balls into the crowd, whatever. And I went to get the King Cohen garb, my cape, my crown, whatever. And the guy hit the music, the Harley race theme. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that skit that we did, Bada Booms. Anytime like Steve Cohen would have a tweet, and I did the King Cohen bit.
I think it
We
was
hit
the
the
Jerry the King, not to interrupt you.
we hit the old WWE, then WWF King Harley race theme. Anyway, so he hits that, and I walk on stage, and dude, there was a legit pop, at least in my mind. Now, I be honest, I could be off, but in my mind, I felt the crowd really respond well to it. So yes, that was one thing there.
One good one came to me while you were going over it.
Go ahead.
You guys didn't have a fatty that got dipped in cheese this time?
No, no. No. And to your point, like Boomer and Gio have all these different skits, whether it's Marash or Paul Schwartz or whatever, having all these. And I was like, man, we're not.
Pete Schwartz, come on.
What'd I say? Paul Schwartz? Peter Schwartz. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Paul Schwartz, because the Giants are on my mind. He covers the Giants for the Post.
Mhm.
Peter Schwartz out there. I was at that show that he was getting pasted with the marshmallow stuff. I believe that was the one that I was at on Long Island. Anyway, they do a different show than we did, and they put on a really big thing. And for us, it was like, hey, our show is primarily sports. Like I said, I think we made it entertaining and got the crowd involved in a bunch of different things. Overall, it was a fun night. All right, so let me tell you now the story about the night before